It is asking what determines a risk that should be rewarded. Not all risks can be rewarded. That goes to the idea of diversification. Diversification. There are two types of risk, at least at a minimum, at this simplified model. One is called the systematic risk. These are risks that are common to most stocks. Okay. Suppose tomorrow Fed decided to surprise the markets, which they don't like doing, but let's say they did, and they actually increased the Fed funds rate by a quarter basis points. Do you know of any stock that's not going to be affected by that? Your funding cost is going up, right? Whether or not that's positive or negative depends upon the nature of the stock. If you're a firm with $100 billion of cash like Google, that may actually, benefit you. But on the other hand, an increase in interest rates will slow down the economy. That means less ad revenue, so on and so forth. But everybody will be affected by it to varying degrees. I mean, Coke may not be as much affected as much as a company like, let's say, a company I like these days for speculative purposes, SoundHound, which is an AI company based on the audio. They're already doing most of the ordering stuff on Georgie Mike, for example. You go driving, you order. They actually take your order using the sound AI procedures. They're trying to land McDonald's right now, for example. If they did, that would be a great coup for them. Even NVIDIA owns about 4 million shares in the stock. But, it's pretty speculative. Right now, they're not earning any money. But that company is going to be affected a lot more. Why? Because right now they're losing money, so they have a relatively high cash burn rate. So they're going to have to finance themselves. The higher are the interest rates. A, the higher is the cost of that financing. And B, typically higher interest rates are also associated with a little bit of credit crunch. Smaller companies do not have the same level of access to credit as larger companies in times like those. So if some Fed did something like that tomorrow, I would not be surprised at all if SoundHound dropped by 30%. Okay. Would it affect NVIDIA the same way? Probably not. They're flush with cash. And the products that they're selling is something everybody wants. Nobody wants to be behind the AI curve. Or Coke is not going to be affected as much. On the other hand, banks are going to be affected. Banks actually make more money when the interest rates are higher because their spreads tend to be higher. So the source of systematic risk affects almost everybody. All companies are affected. For the hell of it, let BJ denote the degree to which a firm is sensitive to systematic risk. Okay. I chose the letter beta on purpose. That's basically the Greek letter for B. The second type of risk is unsystematic risk, uh, aka idiosyncratic or firm-specific risk. Sources of idiosyncratic risk affects only one or a few companies. If tomorrow the chairman of Apple died, do you think anybody, any shareholders of NVIDIA, gonna care? No, because one way or the other, Apple is gonna buy their product, right? Or not buy their product. Just because the CEO died, it's not going to affect NVIDIA's business, or it's not going to affect Coke's business. But it will affect Apple. Back when Steve Jobs announced that he had terminal pancreatic cancer, which typically has a 1 year survival rate of 5%, and there was a big drop in Apple's stocks. But did anything happen to Coke? Probably not. I mean, I don't know what happened, but I don't care to know what happened. On any given day, things happen to stocks. The issue is, should people be rewarded for carrying idiosyncratic risk? I mean, for example, my current portfolio in my Roth accounts, where are you? Let me see, I have some stocks, but those are my brother-in-law's stocks. Mine is just options. I have SunHound options. I have options. Actually, this is a covered call. I have long-term options on Palantir Technologies, which is an AI software firm, especially for defense and security. I have NVIDIA, and I have Meta, or the Facebook. This definitely is the portfolio that takes a lot of idiosyncratic risk. So should I be rewarded for that? The answer is actually no. I mean, yes, these firms are affected by the systematic stuff quite a bit, but I shouldn't expect to be rewarded for taking that kind of risk. And these are a lot more volatile compared to others. And here's the reason why. Think of the composition of a firm's stock return. RJT, okay, the return for time period T for firm J is equal to some sort of average numbers, okay? And I'm going to call this MT plus UJT, where MT you can think of as market portfolio. But at this point, it is a so-called factor mimicking portfolio. It basically has, you can think of as the numeraire. It has unit exposure to systematic risk. So if systematic risk goes up by 1, this goes up by 1. And UJT are sources of idiosyncratic risk. Now, since they're idiosyncratic, correlation of UJT and UKT for K not equal to J are either zero or very low. You know, specific firm-specific things that could happen to Coke are probably not correlated with firm-specific things that could happen to Google. But you know, these things happen. You get new information about these firms. Okay, so there is idiosyncratic sources of surprises in a sense, but they're not correlated. Even if they're in similar business, it is relatively low correlation. Now, suppose